Welcome to another episode of One Door at a Time, Concentric Educational Solutions podcast, where we bring the intersection of education, community, entrepreneurship, and just overall good vibes of everybody that's doing great things in this space. Today, we have a native son of Baltimore, Charm City. We're in the midst of CIAA. I've been trying to get this brother for a minute. If you already know, without any introduction, you know who he is, the great work he has done in and around Baltimore and for Baltimore. And I really appreciate it. I want to shout out all of our sponsors, Atlas Restaurant Group. Thank you. Go all the different locations, DMV, Philly, Houston. And shout out to Mercedes-Benz of Catonsville. Sam, I really appreciate it for the car. But thank you for fixing that rim that got messed up with the glorious potholes here in Baltimore City. Always going to appreciate it. So without further ado, Chris, thank you so much for coming through, brother. This is dope. It's an honor to have you on here, man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We're gonna jump right into it, man. You're a son of Baltimore. You've gone through so much. Baltimore has a good reputation, bad reputation, and different reputations depending upon where you go. So talk about like the early part of your journey when you were coming through, like your upbringing that kind of starts shaping you.
Yeah. So thank you for what you're doing with this podcast and creating and telling the stories of Baltimore people and people that are impacting Baltimore. It's important that we control our narrative and create exposure and spread the work that we're doing. But for me, man, I don't even know. I mean, I could go on from when I was, middle school, elementary school, but I would probably say some of the most pivotal moments in my life was like Lake Clifton High School.
You went to Lake?
Yeah, I went to Lake.
When it was Lake?
Yeah, I went to Lake when it was Lake. Like you better not walk down St. Louis Drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to Lake C and D, A and B, all the fights on the bridge, all that other stuff. So I think that, and the crazy part about it, people, when I tell them I went to Lake, they have that same reaction, right? They're like, "You went to Lake?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they were like, "Man, I would never think that somebody from Lake would do the things that you're doing." And for me, it's kind of like that's the things that Lake Clifton has given me, that skill set and ability to be able to do that, the resiliency, the life skills, the survival skills, understanding dynamics and behavior, understanding, just being able to read energy and being able to move in a room, and understand how to navigate and build with different types of people, whether it's a CEO or a CEO, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or somebody that the CEO is protecting or keeping, whatever. But, just being able to have that range. And then the other thing was golf. I played golf at a very young age.
Really?
Yeah. And I still play golf if you want some smoke.
Yeah.
But having that range of being able to go see the exposure of golf, and understand that dynamic and the people that I interfaced with there, in addition to the people from Lake Clifton, and I grew up on the Alameda and all that other stuff. So being able to just like integrate and mix those two kind of really helped me become, someone pivotal. And then like when I had a clothing store, for the longest time, people wouldn't believe that it was me. It was like, "Man, you don't have, that ain't you, that ain't C-Note." And so I'd be like, "All right, cool," but people that doubt that people had when I would tell them the things that I wanted to do, or I told them the things that I was currently doing, their disbelief and denial of who I was and what I was doing were some of the things that fueled me. Because now it was like, all right, now I'm really, I'm not going hard enough because for some reason you're not connecting me with the belief of what I'm telling you I do. Right. So obviously you don't believe in me, or you feel like I'm incapable. So now I got to double down and show you even more, so those type of things, kind of was pivotal in my early age of like, just being slept on at times,
Yeah, so, I'm from Delaware, but I call Baltimore my home because after undergrad, I came straight here.
Okay.
Right? Like this is the only thing I've known in my adult life in Baltimore, right? And I think Baltimore gets a rap about like crabs in the barrel, no pun intended, but like
they got obey though.
Yeah, obey. You gotta bring the obey. Is that like not us being constantly uplifting each other, particularly as black males.
Yeah.
And that I think that's an unfair criticism, right? Like, I remember when I first got here, my first year teaching, I was at Forest Park. And then I went to Southwestern.
Okay.
And this was 99, 2000. And so that's when Lake was Lake, right? Southwestern was Southwestern.
Yeah.
Northern was Northern.
And Forest Park was Forest Park.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, it
Yeah.
was different. So, caveat story. Forest Park, my first year teaching, like you drive, El Dorado Drive and blah, 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 right? And it's like, oh, well, damn, Baltimore's not that bad. Then I get transferred after my first year, Southwestern, right? Up the hill from the cemetery.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like
Let's get real.
this is not El Dorado Drive.
Nah.
And funny story. After my first year at Southwestern, I did a summer school teaching at Lake. And Lake had a lot of negativity around it. It just did, right?
Yeah.
Who being from Baltimore and looking back right now, who are some other people from Baltimore, Baltimoreans that you would be like, yeah, damn, like they're doing their thing?
Yeah, man, it's a lot of people, man. Like, Derek Adams is somebody that is super dope. Like, Derek is like one of the most talented artists, visual artists that is out. Like, he's like raising to like that Basquiat level.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, Derek is like cousins with like Russell Simmons and everyone. But Derek is from Baltimore. And like his artwork is like Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats have it in their house. Jay-Z has it in his office. Like Derek has a studio in Brooklyn. But Derek is helping head up Artscape this year with my friend Robin Murphy, who's the president. So Derek is coming back to do that. And he's also speaking about like us not knowing about a lot of people from Baltimore. He's creating like this encyclopedia type of thing of people from Baltimore that's doing dope stuff in the Reservoir Hill area. He got like a very large grant for that. So
Yeah. That's where I live.
yeah, like Derek is, if you look Derek Adams up, bro, his work is like incredible. So you take somebody like Derek. So then you take someone like D. Watkins, who's my boy.
Yeah.
D. Watkins, New York Times bestseller, produced shows on HBO and just big popular stuff. Like Derek, D has wrote Carmelo's book. You know, like D is like the guy to go to for like journalism and just like writing related stuff, and just not even just that. He's just a great dope individual. You got people like Eddie Brown, right? Who Brown Capital. You know, like how do you create a fund of something like that just does great and tremendous impact? You know, just all of my friends, the people from Selfish, people from Black Swan, like having a chef that being able, like I'm inspired by everybody, like Nakija from Black Girls Vote, like creating these platforms that create national attention and exposure and cohorts and stuff like that, and just having great impact. Like, how are you guys doing this type of stuff? You know, like it's just it's very incredible. I can't forget the Governor Westmore, by the way. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he's an alpha, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll leave that.
But Governor Westmore, like, like to be the first Black governor of the state of Maryland, like to be able to, and from here, and to grow up in an environment and how he did, and Kevin Lyles and just all of those type of people.
So with Kevin, that was the guy. I didn't want to name drop. So I was in New York having the dinner, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm in New York, go to meet this cat, right? And he pull up in a cyber truck and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, nah, we in a restaurant. He was like, no, we're gonna go here, because he loves Baltimore, mm-hmm. right? And we start talking, and it says no smoking. He lights up a cigar. I'm like, what the? He was like, you want one? I was like, I guess so. But we started talking. And
first time rolling with Kev.
Oh no,
Kev gonna do what Kev want to do.
Oh yeah, no, and so
Kev gonna they're gonna let Kev do what Kev would like.
Oh yeah, no, that's what. So we're in this cut, right? And it's me, him, his assistant, right? And it's scheduled for an hour. So we're going through that, like it's just going back and forth about what we do. And then he tells his assistant, "We good." And I guess that meant like extending time, right? Like, and then we talked for another 2 or 3 hours. And the very first thing he asked was like, "Yo, you touch base with Chris?" That's what he said.
Oh, really?
Oh no, he said, "Have you touched base with Chris?" I was like, "Nah, I'm trying to get to him, right?" And he was like, "Nah, like there's a lot of dope people doing a lot of dope work in Baltimore." And he was like, y'all gotta hook up. This was in December.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like he literally said that. But it's interesting is that Kev pushed the thought, right? He was like literally, don't ask me for money. He said, what's bigger than money? And that was one of the first times, I'm old now, that I had ever gotten that response. He was like, the money's the easy part. What's bigger than money? So you had endless amount of money. What can you do with it? And it like I'm 60 days later, I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that joint. No, it was a great pushing question.
Yeah.
Right? So let's kind of move forward. Like you've gone to Morgan, right, and then Maryland Eastern Shore, right? Like what are some of the lessons that you pull from Maryland and Eastern Shore, and which is interesting because we're in the middle of CIAA. Shout out to HBCUs.
Yeah, for sure. So I think when I went to Eastern Shore, it was my first time living away from home for that long period of time and to be that far away. So you learn life skills, you learn another set of survival skills, because, you know, you gotta, and you know, I didn't, my parents did, you know, we had a household full of love, but I can't say that we always had a household full of endless money, you know what I'm saying? So like my meal card wasn't always filled up and stuff like that. So you had to learn to navigate and to be resourceful and, you know, create revenue for yourself, you know? So, or go without, you learn how to budget.
Yeah.
So I think that was good. But then Morgan really, you know, was helpful because when I went to Morgan, I transferred to Morgan and my undergrad was marketing. So I had an undergrad.
So you started as undergrad at first at UMES, then.
So yeah, I transferred from University of Maryland Eastern Shore to Morgan when I got a business loan from the SBA to advance my clothing store C-Note that I started.
In undergrad?
Yeah. So I started C-Note when I was in 12th grade, and I took the clothing down to Eastern Shore. And, you know, I used to come home on the weekends to go see my manufacturer and to like develop clothes, sell them out the trunk of my car, and then go back to school. And then when I was there, I applied for a student loan. I mean, on a small business administration loan. I got $10,000. I tell this story, that I spent $900 of it on a minivan from the police repossession auction. And then I spent the other $9,100 on clothes, on my merchandise and my clothing. And then I used to ride through every dope strip in the hood, everywhere. Like, pick a spot, I was there in the middle of the hood, me and my buddy riding around selling the clothes out the trunk of my car.
You was re-upping on your loan.
Yeah. I basically put all the money from that loan into one inventory. I should have paced it out, but I went all in. And then I used to drive around every dope strip selling the clothes out the trunk of my car. Until we raised enough money, we were able to, you know, become profitable, and I was able to get a store on Fulton and Riggs, right in the middle of the hood, and Fulton and Riggs down in Centertown, Winchester, where Freddie Gray was, and which is, I didn't connect the dots. I do a lot of work at Harlem Park Elementary, so we provide like coding classes, golf, exposure, all that other stuff, mental health service. We put a mental health suite there, all that other stuff. But that's right down the street from where my first clothing store was. And in that clothing store, there was one room in the back, and I used to live in the store. Like I used to live in this back room of the store, like literally, like you know, just work and then go live there. And the police station was next door, and I was just like in the middle of the hood. So, but that was my first clothing store, so I was very prideful about it, and then it was able to expand. So, but having, like what I was saying, was having my undergrad in marketing, and then having my master's from Morgan again in social work, really allowed me to understand how to create marketing schemes and plans, but that draw it on and understand human behavior and psychology a bit, so that I can like put together things that people desired and put it out in a way that, you know, draw their attention.
Was that the impetus to get your master's in social work? Because of what you were thinking about?
No, I wish I was that insightful. But no, what I had a clothing store, so we had opened another store on Fulton Riggs, and then we had on North and Monroe, and then we also had one on York Road in Cold Spring, right down by Nappy by Nature and across from Tyrone's Chicken. So while working there, business sometimes, you know, sales became slow. So I would go work at a mentoring company, like do overnights at like group homes and stuff like that. So I would work at like Jamoke Group Home, do overnights there, and then I would go work at Time Organization, doing mentoring stuff, and I would go work at Changing Directions with Larry Carroll. So I had like 4 jobs working as a mentor for like behavioral health, what we call now behavioral health, but mentoring type of companies, while I was doing a clothing store. And so then I wound up starting my own because there was my own my own company, because I found there was a lot of service gaps in the service delivery, and I wanted to change that. And so I figured, I could bring my ideas to them. Everybody wasn't receptive to it. So I took my ideas and I did it myself. And so I had this great organization that was taking off. And then my buddy, James Johnson, and a few of my buddies, they went back to get their masters in social work. And they was like, Chris, you should come back to get your masters. I'm like, man, y'all go ahead and do that.
This is undergrad?
Yeah.
Before you got your masters?
Yeah, I had a clothing store. I started my business in 2008. This is 25. We just talked about it. It makes 17 years this year. And so my buddy's like, man, we're going back to get our masters because you're nothing without those letters behind your name. And I'm like, man, please, I make more than the teachers. I ain't going back to get my masters. What I need a master's for? Just being ignorant, But my buddy, James, stayed on me, was like, no, bro, you really have to go do this. I'm telling you, it'll change your life, And so I went back and got my master's. So it would be great to be able to write a book and say, yeah, I had this great idea that I could mix marketing with human behavior. I didn't even know what I was signing up for when I went back to get my master's. I didn't understand, but it was great because I got to understand chemical dependency. I got to understand how the brain works, like human behavior, psychology, DSM, psychopathology, all of these other things, diaspora, and understand all of these things. So these things that help me in different parts of my life. Now, do I apply this one whole thing to everything that I do? No, but these different subsets of things that I've learned, integrating them with marketing and business. So that's how BTST is be able to be a great business, because I have a business acumen, I have a business foundation in business, but then I also have the desire and the pure love for social work, because I was doing it before I got paid for it. Yeah. My grandmother was doing it, I had no idea, and then I went back and got my master's in it. So most people that create organizations in behavioral health, they're a voice for it. So they go out and talk about all of this stuff that they read books about and stuff, and they're great communicators and thought leaders, but they don't have an operation. We have great people that have an operation, but don't know how to market and don't have the visibility. Mm-hmm. So being able to understand, be a creative, but also know how to land a plane has been something that has been, very helpful. That merging those two has been,
So it seems like, I'm going to pivot a little bit, right? So I have this conversation with some of my younger brothers now, right? It's amazing, I think, in retrospect. So my birthday was last Thursday.
Oh, happy belated.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. And it's like these crucibles in life where you start thinking about, okay, I've done my thing. I've made my thing. I'm happy, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least I'm successful by some standard definition. But now, how can I give back? How can I uplift? How can I really pour into others and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Do you think entrepreneurship is an art or a science? Is it bred? Do you think you're born with that, or do you think you have to learn the entrepreneurship?
That's a good question, man. I think it can go both ways, right? I think you have to have a certain DNA to be an entrepreneur. Now, where does that DNA come from? It can come from, I think it's fire tested through life experiences. Yeah. So, and desires. So if you have the desire to do something and nobody else is doing it, but you believe in it that much, or you've gone through things and been battle tested, right? So I can't really, I don't know if you're born with it, because I think it's just life experiences, right? Because some people are comfortable being delegated. Somebody tells them what to do and how to show up and stuff like that, right? But I don't think you're born like that, right? But I think life experiences, if you grew up and you had to figure this out because you didn't have anybody else you can lean on and stuff like that, you figured it out, and that gave you a skill set that can't be taken away from you, right? So what I like to tell people that are struggling in different situations, these, and especially us, these experiences are building character. My brother, my homeboy Melvin Rodriguez always says, there is no testimony without a test, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to go through these things and to experience these difficult times, these growth things. When you're growing, it's difficult, right? I've been going through stuff and man, I want to grow, and I'm going through this next phase of growth and different businesses that I'm growing in and just developing in. And it becomes uncomfortable, it becomes doubtful. a lot of times people don't get to see that self-doubt that you have. You don't understand how it's going to come together, or you have this anxiety about if it's going to work and stuff like that. And it really can haunt you. You really, like you can really get down on yourself and lack belief, right? Even though you've created successful things that people patronize, enjoy, and celebrate you. Like if you never did another thing, you would be stamped, right, as somebody who has been successful. But when you've created this level of success, we still go through this fear, right? But what I would say is that once you've gone through something, you can't unlearn it anymore. Yep. So the experiences that I've gotten in starting a business, you can't take that away from me. Yeah. So I can start a business here, whatever the field is, because the setup, the operation is all the same. It's just what product are we selling at this point, right? Or what service are we providing? But the same systems that you need to take to manage your operation. How does this work? How does this work? How does this work? You're able to set a business up and really create that, you can't unlearn that. So when you're going through these trials, you're going through the fire, you're just being forged to become something stronger. And once you go through these trials, it's up from there, because it's very, like you've been through that before. So now you have the muscle memory of how to navigate in those moments.
No, and I mean, it's timely, right? Because you go through these stages. I mean, I was with my team today, and like you go ups and downs, you forge through the fire and stuff like that. And we're talking about, like you legit have it's beyond impressive business portfolio, like from the clothing line to the mental health to, Selfish to, being the restaurants and stuff like that. And what you learn, I was telling my team that, like, I was like, I'm not worried, because no one can take what we've experienced. Mm-hmm. Like you can give me 0 today, and I'll figure this shit out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you how.
Yeah.
But I
desire to.
Yeah.
Nor do I desire to.
Right. Like, so I remember that. I'll give you this caveat, and we pivot to this. Is I was 12 years old. This is my first time, I think, into entrepreneurship, right? This is when you had printed media. I was in Delaware, right? It was called the News Journal. You had a morning news journal and an afternoon news journal, right? So my man, who had become, he was a high schooler now, he didn't want to do the morning journal anymore, right? So he was like, yo, do you want my paper route? It was a paper route, right? So I was like, yeah, of course I'll take that joint, right? And my neighborhood was split into East and West, right? So then the other dude on East was like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I got both paper routes in the morning, right? And then they had the afternoon route, but I was in school, right? But my mom was a work at home mom, right? So I was like, yo, mom, I'm going to take the afternoon route. I'll give you a study, I'll pay you if you can deliver my papers, right? So then I had morning and afternoon, the whole neighborhood. And then those customers, I turned into my lawn mowing customers, who turned into my snow shoveling customers.
You built the whole ecosystem.
I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I was like, yo, then what I was doing is to my customers, don't bootleg my stuff, is I was like, yo, if you pay a month in advance, I give you 15% discount.
Yeah.
So I can have the capital up front to buy lawnmowers to subcontract those to my young boys.
Yeah.
But all right, I'm giving way too much out, right? Think about how you built that joint, right? All your different successful businesses. Is there a commonality, or how will you been able to do that? Alluding to what you were talking about, like all those experiences and how the product changes, but the end result doesn't.
Yeah, systems and great people, right? Mm-hmm. And creating understanding what your customer wants, right? So Black Swan is successful because, there has been a bunch of, I just use black restaurants, right? Yeah. That have been here, but at that time when I created Black Swan, there wasn't a place where people can get fashionable, go out to get a great bite to eat, where the music was, something that they wanted to hear. It wasn't a party, but it was good vibes and good music, and that they felt like this was something special. Every place, not every, but majority of the places didn't have the music. They were like, they didn't have the music, but they had great food and environment, and they were conservative, right? Then you had some places that were like comfort food where, you could get dressed or you didn't, but it was very heavy and it just wasn't catering to the demographic in which Black Swan does. So I understood who the customer was, and I understood because I was that customer. So I was just filling a void, for something that I desire. And I think that's the common thread in everything that we do, that we like to fill voids, right? So that selfish beauty was filling a void with understanding our customer that, women, black women, just women in general, there's a big market for beauty, aesthetics, and stuff like that. But majority of the places you go to, I'm not even gonna say majority, I'm gonna say just about all the places that people were going to, the person on the other side of the table providing the service didn't look like them, right? Yep. And it wasn't a place that had the Instagrammable moments, that was cool, had the music, had the vibe that you can come and feel like you're at home, right? So just understanding that and understanding our customer, filling the void there. And then the second thing would be creating great sustainable and replicatable systems. So everything that we try to do now, we try to build to scale, right? Like we're not doing it for one, we're trying to figure out how we can create and take this and create multiple, or create something that doesn't require me to have to be there to do every single thing, because my time is precious and I would love to spend so much time on everything, but if I did, then I only can focus on one thing.
How do you realize that, bro?
Which leads to the third thing. You got to build a phenomenal team, right? And so you got to surround yourself around people who are smarter than you, who know these things, and that could really just who are experts in that line of business, right? So whether it's your finance person, whether it's your chef, whether it's your director of operations, whether it's your HR, whether it's your compliance person, like at BTST, we have someone named Ashley that knows. We just joked about it because we had a town meeting today, and Jada mentioned that our person that called Ashley was there when they wrote the Declaration of Independence. She knows every statute about everything, right? And it was it's literally that's funny, because if I get an email from private equity to ask about hey, what is the trend happening here? We're looking at some companies that we're buying that experience this. How is it? Whatever. I might not know the answer, but I know I can go to Ashley and she can have the answer, right? I don't need to know every single thing. I just need people who know every single thing around me. And I think that's, the three elements of building a successful business.
So think about so I'm driving down and I'm seeing the billboard, right? Your office is on the right-hand side, right? BTST, what specifically, because that is outside of Black Swan, that is kind of the flagship. Is that correct?
That ain't even kind of. That
is the flagship, right? That's the what give it all encompassing of what it does.
So BTSC, we're a behavioral health organization. Now I'll get to that part later, who we really are now. But we started off as a behavioral health organization that provides full service behavioral health services. So medication management, psychotherapy, evaluations, targeted case management, coordination of care. We have a nonprofit part. We have psychiatric rehabilitation. So we're a full-fledged, one-stop behavioral health organization. And we have offices throughout the state of Maryland. So Frederick, Washington County, Prince George's County. We actually have two in Frederick, Baltimore, and we service a bunch of the surrounding areas out of those offices and through telehealth as well. But recently, 2 years ago, we were partially acquired by Webster Private Equity Company, right? So they believed in what we were doing, that they wanted to make an investment in us to be able to continue to scale what we're doing and take it more in Maryland and in multiple other states on the East Coast. And that's what we've been doing. So recently we just did a merger with USPP, US Pediatric Partners, where we're doing integrated care. So USPP was only doing primary and pediatric care, and we did behavioral health. So now through this merger, we're going to be providing integrated care. So not only will we be doing behavioral health, but we'll be doing primary care and figuring out where all these touch points at and how to integrate care that it speaks to each other, because obviously there's a relationship between the gut and the brain, right? So if you can reduce if you can do better primary care work, you can improve people's behavioral health, and people's behavioral health directly. So if you're stressed, obviously that creates and you're dealing with depression and stuff, anxiety, that creates physical health issues and ailments as well. So our goal is to reduce hospitalization and just, provide better total care for our clients.
So you're running the gamut.
So yeah, we're in North Carolina, South Carolina, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, and soon to be Georgia, and Maryland, obviously. So yeah, like through this acquisition, we just became 3 to 4 times bigger.
Yeah. Dope. Congratulations.
Thank you
on that joint. But I'm not surprised from what you've been able to do. So beyond the business piece, like you've really become a cultural influencer, like with Selfish and all the things that you're doing. Like everyone sees it as exciting and fun being a CEO, right? But you talk to about it a little bit. They don't see all the self-doubt, even when you're up, right?
Yeah.
They don't see the early mornings, the late nights, the ups and the downs, the sleepless things, because you're just not sure. As you're thinking about, like, what would you say to a future CEO, like, about the experiences that you've had?
Strap in, you know what I'm saying? Because it's gonna be a long ride, man. Like, I was watching this interview that Elon Musk did, and he was saying that as a CEO, he has a unique perspective because, he doesn't handle the small stuff or everything that goes right. The stuff that rolls up to his desk is the things that go wrong that requires his attention to fix because it's that magnitude of a problem. And that's what we have to understand as CEOs. It's not just about the schmoozing and going out for cocktails and networking and going to dinners and being in front of the camera. It's about how do we engineer. So a lot of the times you have to engineer and work with your team to develop strategies to address whatever some of your biggest issues are. It's a lot of, like my father-in-law, he would be upset with me because I'm like, he would call me and I'm like, I'm busy. I can't answer. I'll call you back, right? And it wasn't until he started working with me on some real estate development stuff that we do that he was like, he's like, oh wow, I really see how busy you are, right? Like I spent a few days at his house recently, and when he went to sleep, I was still up working. He went in after, he woke up during the middle of the night, had to get something to eat or something to drink, how old folks do, right? And so he came out there and I was still working. And then by the time he got back up in the morning, I was already up and working again. Yeah. So he's like, when do you sleep? And I was like, you thought that I was just blowing you off. I'm not blowing you off, but I'm literally working, like literally. So when you're in that level of growth phase, man, it requires tremendous sacrifice. So like people are like, hey, Chris, you want to go here? Like my friends are going to this, I sit on this board called Urban Golf, right? And so between them and my friend Melvin, Mael, and Stay Blessed, they're doing this retreat, a men's retreat in Dubai, right? Oh, damn. And it's called Elevation. So I want to go. I'm on the board. I play golf. I'm better than all of those dudes. I hope that, this is on camera, but I'm supposed to go. But we're going through diligence and closing a company right now in North Carolina, and then there's other real estate projects that we got going on. So like my behavioral health company is my primary thing, like that, and I have to stay focused on that. So as much as I want to be in Dubai, and I got invited, and I was there, I'm supposed to be there. I plan to be there. I can't go because like I have to do the work that allows me to be able to have the visibility to go to do these things and to be on these boards. I got to continue to do the work. So people don't always see that. They see a lot of the glams and glitz, but they don't see a lot of the sacrifices and we got to, as entrepreneurs and CEOs, we got to find that work-life balance because sometimes even when we're there physically, mentally we're not there. So you can be physically at your daughter's volleyball game or at your son's football game, but mentally are you there for the conversations and just to notice the body, the nonverbal communication that they're experiencing that they want you to pick up on, right? So it comes with sacrifice, but you also have to find a way to make balance and be there for it all. And that's, a lot of people don't see those things, man. When you're creating something, man, to do something that you've never done requires you to give and go through stuff you've never been through before, man. And a lot of people quit when it becomes tough or when they don't see the vision versus just keep going. Like we were talking today, like how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. So like you got to just keep chipping away and keep chipping away. And a lot of times people wait until they think that they want to wait until they have the full vision of what something is going to look like and then I get to work. No, you get to work. It's like a scratch off. You don't know the numbers that's below the scratch off. It ain't until you start moving until it starts revealing itself, right? Yep. So once you start moving, it's like, oh, I see it now. Oh, I got it. Oh, I won. So like that's the way we need to approach doing the work as a CEO, sacrifice, and just get to work, man.
So, what I tell people now, like being 49, is that they don't see, so I've been at it 16 years. That's a grind.
Yeah.
They don't see that shit, right? What they see is, or what they'll post or whatever case would be, is what's now. They didn't see what was, right?
Yeah.
The late nights.
I tell people you can't compare your table of contents to my appendix.
Ooh, drop that again.
You can't compare your table of contents to my appendix, right? Or my chapter 20, right? Because I'm far from being at an appendix, but where I am, where you didn't see me when I was at my table of contents, right? So you can't look at where you are versus where I am, and it's different.
But what I share with them is, like, we were talking about before we start shooting, is like the vulnerability, right? Fact of the matter is I didn't have a work-life balance. I gave everything, and looking back, kind of unapologetically, right? I wasn't there for a lot of, like, my middle children. I wasn't there. I was working, right? Yeah. Like, that was the sacrifice, right? A couple of things I kind of want to look at is that, two questions to end off. The first one is, when you were doing your journey, right? The growth stage or whatever case may be, how did you have to differentiate between who could come with you and who you had to leave behind?
Yeah. So I'll start there with one point that you said, is that when we do these grand projects at work, we're taking away from the micro projects that we could be doing. And those micro projects may really produce the outcomes and the results that we need. The grand projects might be a bit more vanity, right? And may, lead to some level of macro accomplishment. But for every win, there's a loss, right? So yeah, we won when we did this, but what did we lose to do that, right? And so I think that, yeah, I'm sacrificing. Now my kids get to go to private schools, right? But are my kids in a place where they're emotionally stable, they feel fulfilled, they feel like they have somebody that can support them, or do they feel like they were, left to figure it out or whatever else, right? I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying these are the questions because, yeah, do we value them going to a private school more, or do we value them becoming emotionally stable and secure versus being insecure or whatever, right? So for every win there's a loss, we kind of gotta figure out like how we assess our wins, and are they long-term wins, are they short-term wins, or are they really not wins at all? But to your question, how do you decide who goes, man? I think that for me, when we had our private equity investment, I start seeing like, man, listen, they're trying to go to a level that we haven't been to before. Like, we're going to need to bring on a director of corporate dev who's going to go out and find us these acquisition targets and all this other stuff. And so my person that did program development, I went to her and said, listen, I need you to, stay ready. So whatever it is that you don't know, I need you to learn what you don't know. I need you to know what it is you don't. I need you to identify what it is that you don't know. And I need you to go learn what it is that you don't know, because I want my team to stay together. Yeah. So when I'm now CEO of a portfolio company, of a platform company that has $2 billion in, assets, revenue, like $2 billion in their fund that they can invest in. If I say this is the right company that we should buy, and we do the diligence, like that we're going to make that investment, I'm the CEO of all of this. So these companies that we're going to acquire will roll up to me, right? Yeah. I need to be sharp as a CEO. So I'm going to go educate myself on what it means to be a CEO on that level. I'm going to take my classes. I'm going to do my readings. I'm going to watch my YouTube videos and all that other stuff to prepare. I'm going to make sure I polish myself and present well. Be thinking about my aesthetic and just like what I'm communicating, all of these things, right? I'm gonna stay ready for the moment. So if I don't get picked, or if we decide, thank God, if we decide to hire another CEO to lead up the portfolio company, because it's a lot of work, right? Yes. That at least I didn't pass on a position because I wasn't ready. So I think that's what I tell my team, like, get ready and stay ready and let's go. Now, if you don't stay ready and you don't figure out, one, if you don't stay ready, there's nothing I can do, right? And then two, if you see what I have going on or whatever, we're meeting, we're talking, we're being intentional about these conversations. And then now let's figure out how we can bring value to what each other's do, right? A lot of times some people want you to create this this job for them or do something versus them really figuring out like, all right, this is what he got going on, right? And if he is a hot hand right now, let's figure out how I can work with him and add value and bring value to something that he's doing that maybe he wanted to do or didn't have the bandwidth to do or something that he never thought to do, right? And so that's how your people, that's how you're able to take your people with you. But, I was blessed that, even though I'm from Alameda, my grandmother lived on Park Heights, my cousin, I spent a lot of my summers in Emerson Avenue with my cousin. Like, a lot of my friends are from these places, but I've been blessed with a great group of friends that are still my day one friends that are polished, right? We're from some of the roughest places in Baltimore,
like
but we're not but we're not products of our environment though, right? So it wasn't even a thing of like, hey, I can't take this dude with me. You got some cousins that or some family members that can't just get out their way and they're stuck in the hood, right? Yeah. And there's that mentality. Cool. But majority of my friends, man, I've been blessed to have a good group of friends that keep me honest. So even when Chris is up here on Forbes or something, they're gonna call you and be like, bro, what? Look at that shirt you had on. Or they're gonna keep you honest or like, grind you up and let you know if you're being too Hollywood or if you're being something else. So, it's not even you want to take those people. It's rare that I've had to have that position where I just couldn't take certain people with me. Now, obviously, when we're scaling, if you stay ready, we're going to grow together because my goal and job is when I'm getting access to certain rooms, I'm bringing that knowledge back.
Yeah.
So when I'm going and I'm traveling around and I'm meeting other interior designers and stuff like that, I'm coming back out, Tiffany, you got to do this. You got to go here. You got to do this. Go look up this place. Go check this out. Or if I'm going here and I'm meeting, so I'm bringing chef and I'm going to, and if I'm like if I'm in Dubai, Monaco, like I travel the world, and I'll come back and be like, chef, I saw this. So I'm bringing back the knowledge and the information that I'm gathering from the exposure and the things that I get to do. I'm bringing it back. It's up to everybody to choose what they do with it, right? And I'm not saying like, hey, I'm the gatekeeper and all this other stuff because I learned from my friends that go and do things. Like I have friends who are like, how do you put this together? How does your team move? How does this work? Oh, okay. And I take it and I implement it in my life as well. So, you don't have to leave people behind when you also bring them with you and you create opportunity. You help fill the void and you create opportunity. Like when we started Black Swan, 90% of the contractors we use were minority men or women, or minorities. Like, and we were intentional about that because we want to give people who I know that are dope the platform to be able to showcase their skills and add value to what we're doing.
No, I meant that. So, so you've done all this, man, right? What's next for you? What are you thinking about?
Man, one, obviously, like I said, my behavioral health company, where people invest in you and and you're responsible for that. That's my bread and butter. That's my anchor. But, our restaurants, we're always looking to scale that. We're going to be raising capital for that because Black Swan, like, what I need people to say, I think sometimes we take Black Swan for granted, right? Because
not that way it was.
If we don't have to wait this anymore, trust me, you can get in, right? But I think sometimes we take it for granted, like it's a jewel, it's a gem for Baltimore. It's an investment that we made into Baltimore, right? But sometimes we need the people to support it, right? I know there's a lot of other restaurants and places that they can go, but we made this investment for our community to provide something that, I could go to other restaurants throughout the world and get the experience that I wanted to have. But I wanted to have that experience here in Baltimore, and I wanted to bring it to Baltimoreans to have that experience. So we have to patronize it because it's not sweet. Like, restaurants are tough. It's restaurants, you work the hardest for the smallest amount of margins, right? So like literally Black Swan does it in respects to restaurants, like we've been open 4 years, right? Most restaurants fail within the first 18 months. The rest of them fail within like the first 3 years, right? And it's rare that you make it past that, right? But, if we want to continue to make it past that, we have to continue to support it. Or we won't have this outlet and this place that we can go. Like literally, we're in one of the most expensive areas in Baltimore and Harbor East, right? The rent there is expensive, right? Then you paying for security to make sure that people have a safe environment. You're bringing in DJs. You're bringing in all of these extra costs that, like most restaurants, when they run a budget, they're not thinking about DJs. They're not thinking about security. They're not thinking about lighting. They're not thinking about all of these other things that we have to think about to put out an A1 product that takes away from your profit margins, right? So now if your fixed costs of here, what it would traditionally be here in the restaurant, we need people to come out to support it here so that it's worked out wow. So like at times we struggle, we think about like Black Swans, like, man, should I get out of this thing? Should I keep it going? But it's such an important like staple for the city that it's like our gift to the city, whether it overly produces or not, because what they say, like, you don't make a ton of money. You don't really make profit or a good profit in one restaurant, right? You need to be able to scale because there's economics of scale. You'll be able to spread your costs across multiple things. So with us only having one thing, we can't get to multiple things if we're not getting that true support off the one, right? And I think that we don't need to take it for granted. So with that being said, like you're saying, what's next? Looking to scale Black Swan, looking to continue to raise capital, to continue to do the real estate projects that we're doing and having great, to continue to have great impact. Continue to, like, one of the things I'm excited about, like the boards I'm on, like downtown partnerships. I'm on the board of downtown partnerships. So we're really thinking about how to make a safer and just better Baltimore and create an economic change by bringing different tech places and all that other stuff into Baltimore. I'm on the Black Leadership Council. I'm the chair of the Black Leadership Council Committee, which is a part of ABC, thinking about how we create an inclusive environment and how we advocate for the things that are facing us and creating opportunities for other entrepreneurs or business people to have these safe spaces to talk. Most board of urban golf, so connecting urban golf now to do this great golf tournament that by golf is important to me. It was a part of my exposure to help me grow. So now we're bringing urban golf here for Preakness Week. Part on like a player like a part of Preakness Week, and a part of Afro Creek. I was able to connect urban golf and Afro Creek, so they're going to have a kickoff initial tournament of Preakness Afro Creek urban golf tournament here, and then from there we're taking proceeds of that and giving them to kids at Harlem Park so that we can do that. By birthday party cream, we're going to be continue to raise funds through that to pay for robotics classes for kids at these different schools. So those are the things that that we're working on and that we're excited. So it's about creating businesses that will create opportunities and jobs, but then also have an impact.
Hey, listen, Matt. We're going on 100 episodes. I'm appreciative of all my guests. Yeah, they've taken the time. And I would like to think that I've taken something from each guest. But like this truly was an hour of a masterclass, right? I think what doesn't happen a lot, like this, like you can have some conversations with leaders to leaders, but where you look up and have conversations with the CEO who has accomplished what you accomplished, man. It's powerful. Your time is precious. I appreciate you texting me back, two showing up, and just your overall authenticity in having these conversations, man. I really appreciate it. You're absolutely right. Black Swan is not just a restaurant destination; it's an experience. It's your zip place. I should say place. It's a gift that you gave back, man. Yeah. So I want to make sure that all of our listeners, all of our subscribers, everybody really supports it. It's absolutely necessary. There's always a buzz around it, a lure, a draw to it. So, I want to thank you and give you your flowers for the gift that you're giving to us. And I just want to, thank you and thank you for the brotherhood. Thank you for the support. I look forward to the great things. And
thank you, Renee. It's not just up there, man. It's about us. Thank you for this platform and thank you for your kind word. But man, listen, I wish I could take credit from, but it's just God blessing me, man, and giving me opportunity to just amplify the work that I'm doing, so it's not just me, man. So, but thank you. And thank you for the platform and allowing us to be on here. I know you have some distinguished guests that comes.
No. This is, we could have gone for another 2-3 hours, man. Like, it was a masterclass. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of One Door at a Time, the Central Educational Solutions Podcast. I'm not even going to say, I'm going to speak into existence. Shout out to our partners, Black Swan and Poppy Cuisine, the Black entrepreneurs in Baltimore that are really doing their thing. I really appreciate it. It's necessary. It's not just symbolic because it's Black History Month, CIAA, but, God always takes care of babies, fools, and noobs. Shout out to the members of Out the Side Attorney Incorporated. You can catch all of our content on concentric.world. Until next time, I'm your host, David Heber. Tune in. See you.